Welcome to the wonderful world of Ghastly. This evening, we're going to discuss the Conte Lautreamont and La Chance de Maldoror. Maldoror was published in 1869. Back in 1869, a guy who came from Uruguay, a place called Montevideo, he appeared in France and got into the university in Paris and was studying, and he was writing this crazy book. And this crazy book he wrote, and it got published, but I don't believe that the publisher ever read it. Otherwise, it probably never would have been published, because the thing is crazy. It's a crazy book. There's a copy of it here in my hand. So it came out in 1869. I've had a theory that the author, Isidore Ducasse, was maybe the main influence on people like Rimbaud and Verlaine. Verlaine obviously, well, not obviously, but he discovered that manuscript, or that magazine. It was published in quarterlies, and he introduced it to a whole audience that became the symbolist movement, and also sort of started the surrealism and all that. But I don't really think it's surrealism. Maybe it is. It's one of my favorite books. When I was in my 20s, I was studying this and that and the other thing, and a fellow, he happened to be a chef, but he liked to read books a lot. And he said, "Hey man, if you like this and that, you might really want to check out this book." And he gave me a copy of it. I've probably owned about 30 or 40 copies of it, because every time I give it to someone, I'm like, you have to read this. You have to read this book. I'm not going to talk a lot today, but Le Comte de Lautreamont wrote Maldoror, and it's a book that I consider to be unique in that the protagonist is evil. You're not looking for redemption here. There is no redemption. There's no kind of, redemption arc or anything. It's just his weird take, his misanthropic, perverse morality, rejecting everything. The work is got blasphemy, sadism, homosexuality, murder, but in all this horror and cruelty and malice, there's this beautiful passage within the text that I found to be so subtle and kind and sweet. And I intend to read it right now. It's Canto 2, Stanza 7. It's written in prose poetry. It's not exactly like rhyming poetry or anything, but you'll see this rhythm. Of course, I'm reading it in English because I'm a bit of a dunce and I don't speak any other language except for English. But I think you'll enjoy this rendition. I'm not sure who the translator was. I'll get back to you on that. But I'd like to read for you now stanza 7 of Canto 2. In a flowery grove the hermaphrodite sleeps, a deep, heavy sleep, drenched in his tears. The moon's disk has come clear of the mass of clouds, and with its pale beams caresses his gentle adolescent face. His features express the most virile energy as well as the grace of a celestial virgin. Nothing about him seems natural, not even the muscles of his body, which clear their way across harmonious contours of a feminine form. He has one arm around his head and another around his breast, as if to restrain the beating of a heart which can make no confidences, laden with the heavy burden of an eternal secret. Tired of life and ashamed of walking among beings who are not like him, he has given his soul up to despair and wanders alone, like the beggar of the valley. By what means does he live? Though he does not realize it, compassionate souls are watching over him near at hand, and they will not abandon him. He is so good, he is so resigned. Sometimes he willingly talks with sensitive people without touching their hands, keeping at a safe distance for fear of an imaginary danger. If he is asked why he has chosen solitude as his companion, he raises his eyes towards the sky, scarcely restraining tears of reproach against Providence. But he does not reply to this tactless question, which fills his otherwise white as snow with the redness of the morning rose. If the conversation goes on, he becomes anxious. He looks around him in all directions as if he is trying to flee from an approaching enemy, quickly waves goodbye and moves off on the wings of his reawakened sense of shame to disappear into the forest. He is generally taken for a madman. One day, 4 masked men, acting on orders, fell upon him and bound him tightly so that he could only move his legs. The rough thongs of the whip crashed down on his back as they told him to make his way without delay to Bisitri. I don't know how to fucking say that word. Road. He started to smile as the blows rained down on him and spoke to them with such feeling and intelligence of the many sciences he had studied, which indicated great erudition in one who had not yet crossed the threshold of youth, and of the destiny of mankind, fully revealing the poetic nobility of his soul, that his attackers, chilled to the blood with fear at the act which they had committed, untied his broken limbs and falling at his knees, begged forgiveness, which he was granting them, and went on way, showing signs of veneration, which is not ordinarily accorded to men. Since this event, which was much spoken of, everyone has guessed his secret, but they pretend not to know it so as to not increase his suffering. And the government has granted him an honorary pension to make him forget that there was a moment when, without preliminary investigation, they had wanted to put him by force into a lunatic asylum. He keeps half of the money for his own use, the rest he gives to the poor. When he sees a man and a woman walking along a path shaded by plane trees, he feels his body splitting from top to bottom into 2 parts, and each new part going to embrace one of the walkers. But it's only a hallucination, and reason soon takes over again. That is why he mixes neither with men nor women, for his excessively strong sense of shame, which arose with the idea that he was only a monster, prevents him from giving his burning love to anyone. He would consider it self-profanation and profanation of others. His pride repeats this axiom to him: let each remain among his own kind. His pride, I say, because he fears that by sharing his life with a man or a woman, he will sooner or later be reproached, as if it were a dreadful crime, for the conformation of his body. So he shelters behind his self-esteem, offended by this impious supposition, which comes from him alone, and he persists in remaining alone, and without consolation amidst his torments. There in a flowery grove, the hermaphrodite sleeps a deep, heavy sleep, drenched in his tears. The birds, waking, contemplate enraptured this melancholy figure. Through the branches of the trees, and the nightingale will not sing its crystal-toned cavatinas. The presence of the unhappy hermaphrodite has made the wood as august as a tomb. O wanderer, misled by your spirit of adventure, to leave your father and mother from the earliest age, by the sufferings you have undergone from thirst in the desert, by the homeland you are perhaps seeking after long wandering as an outlaw in strange lands by your steed. Your faithful friend who with you has borne exile with the inclemency of climes, which your roaming disposition has brought you through by the dignity which is given man by journeys through distant lands and unexplored seas amid the polar ice floes, or under the torrid desert sun. Do not touch with your hand like a tremor in the breeze these ringlets of hair on the ground among the grass. Stand back several steps and you will be acting more wisely. This hair is sacred. It is the wish of the hermaphrodite himself. He does not wish this hair, perfumed by the mountain breeze, to be kissed religiously by human lips, nor his brow, which shines at this moment like the stars of the firmament. But it is better to think of a star which has fallen from its orbit, passing through space and onto this majestic brow, which it surrounds with its diamantine brightness like a halo. Night, casting off sadness, puts on all its charms to the fete of sleep, incarnation of modesty, this perfect image of angelic innocence. The gentle humming of insects is less audible. The branches of trees bend their bushy heights over him to protect him from the dew, and the breeze, plucking the strings of its melodious harp, sends its joyous harmonies through the universal silence towards the closed eyelids, which are dreaming that they are present at the cadenced concert of spheres. He dreams that he is happy, that his bodily nature is changed, or that at least he has flown off on a dark red cloud towards another sphere inhabited by beings whose nature is the same as his. Alas, let this illusion continue until dawn wakes him. He dreams that flowers are dancing around him like huge mad garlands, imbuing him with their suave perfumes, while he sings a hymn of love in the arms of a human being of magical beauty. But what his arms are clasping is only twilight mist, and when he awakes, his arms will clasp it no longer. Do not awaken, hermaphrodite, do not awaken yet, I implore you. Why will you not believe me? Sleep. Sleep on forever. May your breast rise as you pursue the chimerical hopes of happiness. I grant you that, but do not open your eyes. Ah, do not open your eyes. I want to leave you thus, so that I do not have to witness your awakening. Perhaps one day, with the help of a luminous book, I will tell your story in moving words, appalled by all that it contains and by the moving lessons to be drawn from it. Till now, I have not been able to. For every time that I wanted, copious tears would fall on the paper and my fingers would tremble. but not from old age. But now I want to have the courage at last. I'm shocked that my nerves are no stronger than a woman's, and that I faint like a girl every time I reflect on your great misery. Sleep. Sleep on, but do not open your eyes. Ah, do not open your eyes. Adieu, Hermaphrodite. I will not fail to pray every day for you. If it were you, myself, I should not pray. May peace be with you. So that's that stanza. I always thought it was really cool. There's probably people that are like, oh, well, that's this or that, you know. But like, this was written way over 100 years ago. 1869, I believe. And so like, you know, the parameters of like what people thought in 1869 and, you know, what happens now is a little bit different. You have to go with the flow. Pronouns and stuff. That's all great. But like in this, it's just bear with it. You know, it is what it is.